Boys and girls, today for math, we're going to be doing some problem solving. Our strategy is use logical reasoning. So when you solve a problem in math, a word problem, I used to hate those words, word problem, but I think you guys are really good at it because we've learned some good strategies. One thing I always say to do, if you remember, is to read the problem all the way through and then go back and read it one sentence at a time. Break down what you know and what you need to find out. And those are the first steps to figuring out how to solve the problem. Then you decide, well, what do I need to do to solve this problem, to figure out what the answer is going to be? Well, most of the time you're either going to add or you're going to subtract. And last but not least, we all know we have to show your work. Yep, even if you do it in your head, you have to show your work. So your strategy is use logical reasoning. Well, logical, many of you probably know what that means. It really means just to think it through in a systematic way. Don't think about what the answer might be. Find out what the answer is by reasoning, by reading the problem and figuring out what steps you need to take to solve it, just like in life. Okay, so let's take a look at our next page. And our question is, how can I measure objects? Well, there are a lot of different ways to measure objects and many different tools that we use to measure objects. So you have learned some of the tools that you can use. You've been using them all year, but usually just to make a straight line. And those things are what? Correct. Rulers. Many rulers on one side have lines that you use to measure inches. On the other side, we have another form of measurement, and that's called the metric system. We in the United States use the standard old system. I learned the metric system when I was a kid. So honestly, I don't know why we don't get rid of the old system and just keep the metric system, but that's just me. That's just my opinion. Instead of learning two things, we could just learn one. But that's just my opinion. Inches are great. We're all familiar with them. So that's what we started with, right? We started with inches, and then we learned that how many inches equal our next larger unit of measurement? Well, our next larger unit of measurement is a foot, correct? And how many inches equal 1 foot? If you said 12, you are correct. And then if you have to measure something bigger than a foot or 2 or 3, you use a yardstick. And how long is a yardstick? If you said 3 feet, you're correct. If you're really on the ball today, you're going to be able to tell me how many inches are in 1 yard. Well, each foot has 12 inches. So 12 inches plus 12 inches plus 12 inches is 36 inches. All right, so we're going to start out with a problem of the day. And we actually just solved this problem. Carlos measured the height of a couch. He measured the height in 3 parts. Each part was 1 ruler long. What is the height of the couch? How did you solve the problem? So if he measures the height of the couch in 3 parts, and each part was 1 ruler long, well, we have to figure out how long is a ruler? Well, 12 inches. So we're going to add 12 plus 12 plus 12 because there were 3 parts. And we just did that. And how many did we say? If you said 36, you are right. Now, I'm doing this on my computer, so I can't write on my computer, of course. But if you're going to show your work, you would show an addition problem of 12 plus 12 plus 12. How did you solve the problem? With addition. I solved the problem by using addition. And there it is. Notice it says 36 inches. You always want to label your work, especially when you're working with measurement, because 36 inches is not the same as 36 feet or 36 yards, and you need to be clear. You can't think that everyone's going to know what you mean. You have to write it down. Okay. Ian's skateboard is 2 feet long. Nick's is 18 inches long. How many inches longer is Ian's skateboard? Well, we have a couple steps to take here. First of all, how long is 2 feet? Well, 2 feet is 24 inches. 12 plus 12. So if Ian's skateboard is 24 inches and Nick's is 18, how many inches longer is Ian's skateboard? Well, now we get to our second step. We have to find the difference between 24 inches and 18 inches. So we have to subtract 24 minus 18. And to do that, we have to regroup. So we're really pulling in all of our skills here. Okay? So let's see if they're going to show me the work. No, they're not going to show me the work. Okay. So we have 24 minus 18, and if you're doing this, you're going to cross out the 4 and make it a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. Okay. Actually, you're going to cross out the 2 and make it a 1, and then cross out the 4 and make it a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. All right? So these are all review, and that's great, but I would like to move along to what we're working with today. All right? Learn the strategy. Coco wants to plant a garden. She cannot decide if it should be 10 inches, 10 feet, or 100 yards long. About how long should the garden be? Well, think about it for a minute. Underline what you know, circle what you need to find out. Well, we know that she wants to plant a garden. We want to find out how long it should be. And really, that's just logical thinking. If you're going to plant a garden, do you think 10 inches will be long enough? Do you think 10 feet will be long enough? Do you think 100 yards would be long enough? 100 yards would be 300 feet. Which one do you think would be reasonable? Especially if your backyard isn't super, super big. Okay, so we know that she wants to plant a garden and that she's trying to decide how long it should be. And she wants to find out how long it should be. So that's underlined and circled. Okay, how will I solve the problem? Think about it for a minute. Well, use logical reasoning. 10 inches is definitely too short. And 100 yards is way too long. That's like farm size. So unless you have a tractor, you're going to be spending every day, all day, taking care of these things that you're planting in your garden. So logical reasoning would determine that 10 feet would be the best. Okay, let's try another one. Zachary is looking up at the high diving board at the pool. Is the high diving board 10 inches high, 10 feet high, or 10 yards high? Underline what you know, circle what you need to find. Well, what do you think, 10 inches? 10 feet, 10 yards. I guess it depends on how high the diving board is. You know, in the Olympics, those things are pretty high. But let's see. Let's see what would be reasonable to jump and not get hurt. Okay, underline what you know, circle what you need to find out. How will I solve the problem? Well, I'm going to use my common sense. 10 feet high. 10 yards, that would be way too high. You wouldn't be able to see the pool, almost. And 10 inches would not even be high enough. All right? So logical reasoning, using your noggin, your common sense. Okay, and is your answer reasonable? Well, of course it's reasonable. Nobody would want to jump off of a diving board that was 30 feet high. Not unless you were trained to do that. All right, let's try another one. Sam planted a tomato garden that is 1 foot tall. The plant grows a little each week. After 4 weeks, would the plant be 10 inches or 14 inches tall? What do you think? 10 inches or 14 inches after 4 weeks? Well, right now it's 1 foot tall. There's not a huge amount of space between 10 inches or 14 inches. I don't know. I'm thinking if you give it a lot of plant food, an argument could be made for 14 inches tall. But if you think about plants, do they grow very quickly or do they grow a little more slowly? I think plants are not like kids. Kids grow quickly. Plants grow slowly, especially in the beginning. Okay? And they're giving an answer of 14 inches. I don't know about that one. I think that's questionable. I think a slow grower could grow 10 inches and a fast grower could grow 14 inches. I think that one is not quite as clear as the diving board example. I like the diving board example better because we know that we wouldn't want to jump from a diving board that's too high. It would be dangerous. Now, if it were my tomato plant, it would probably grow about 6 inches. I'm terrible with plants, but I will tell you that I plan to plant some this summer because I want to stay out of the stores as much as I can. So if I can grow my own tomatoes, even if they're probably not going to come in until August, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a shot. All right, let's try one more. This is a brain builder, so this one's challenging. Jane made a paper chain that is 1 yard long. Brad made a paper chain that is 2 feet long. Who made the longer paper chain? How many feet longer is it? I can just see Colden and a few others tackling this one. Colden always liked to do the brain builders, didn't you, Colden? All right, and I know a few others of you also did. So sorry if I didn't mention everybody's name, but I know that some of you are going after this and figuring it out, probably already figured it out. So we know that 1 yard long is 3 feet, so we can underline that because we know it. And we know that 2 feet, we know that, and we're going to find out whose was longer. So if 1 yard long is 3 feet, and that's Jane, and Brad's is 2 feet, whose is longer? Well, that's pretty easy. Of course, Jane, and it's 1 foot longer because Brad's was only 2 feet long. But I'm sure he can catch up if he tries. Okay, I'm going to let you try this one. I'm going to read it to you and let you try this one on your own. Mr. Moore's class is collecting things to measure. Lisa finds a pine cone. Oh my gosh, this is so easy. Would the pine cone be 3 inches, 3 feet, or 3 yards long? Well, I don't know where you live, but where I come from, this answer is kind of obvious. Although, if you live in California and the trees are as big as they are, I don't know. You might find a pine cone 3 feet long, but I doubt it. Yeah, we're going to go with 3 inches. All right, so since that one was pretty easy, we'll read this one, and then I'll let you do this one on your own. Santos connects 6 markers. Each marker measures 5 inches. How long are all the markers together? So underline what you know. We've got 6 markers, and they're 5 inches. How long are all the markers together? Together is our clue word, because when we put things together, what are we doing? If you said adding, you are correct. All right, I'm not going to go forward because if I do, you'll see the answer. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to let you do your work for the day, boys and girls, and your parents are going to check it for you. And I think you're all going to do great, but if you have any problems, then have your parents let me know, and we'll do some more review.